2, 1, ready.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Greater Manchester Transport Committee Metrolink and Rail Subcommittee. Before we start meeting, I would like to ask everybody to mute their mics and turn off the cameras and only on when they want to speak. We have first on agenda any apologies. Do we have any apologies?
Yes, you've got apologies from Councillor Doreen Dickinson and Councillor Peter Robinson.
Okay. We don't have any chairs announcements and urgent business. Do we have any declarations of interests? Is there anybody who wants to declare any interests?
None received, Chair.
None received. We'll go to the next item, 4 minutes of the GMTC Metrolink and Rail Subcommittee held on 18 September. Any issues? Anybody wants to raise anything? Are we happy to approve as they are? Actually, can't see anybody. Everybody's turned the cameras on, so
yes.
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 Okay, good. Thank you.
Aye.
Okay. Five. Yeah, that's the time. Local rail service performance and operators updates. Do we have Caroline to give us a report?
Yes, thank you. So this is the rail operations and performance report. It covers periods 5 to 7, so that's from the 26th of July to the 17th of October of this year. These periods saw strong and consistent operational performance by all the operators in our area and Network Rail, with Northern and TPE having right time performance in the 70s and PPM in the 90s, which was excellent to see. It also contained an uplift of services on the 14th of September, when services were uplifted to about 85% of pre-COVID provision. So that is what's operating currently. Rose Hill saw a return of the 90-minute service from the 26th of October, and we'll come back hourly from December, and we are going to present a bit on what's happening in December straight after this report, Chair. Patronage increased over the summer, so in July and August, to about 35 to 40% of pre-COVID statistics. But it did fall again in September, and it's now considerably lower at the moment due to lockdown, as you would expect. Also in this period, new ERMA, so that's emergency recovery measure agreements, were brought in for all franchised operators on the 20th of September. So in our area, that covers TransPennine Express, Avanti and EMR. And there's more detail about that in section 8 of the report, if people are interested in those agreements. And this report also details face covering compliance, Christmas and New Year services. There's no real surprises in there. And a community rail update for all the work that people have been doing during this difficult period, which is really good to see. Happy to take any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Any questions from anyone? At the moment, nobody has indicated in the chat room of any questions. Are people too happy to take it as it is? Okay, we have someone. Yeah, Steve, would you like to go ahead?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair. That's yeah, I was trying to write in the chat then, but it was like moving very quickly, so coming at the same time. Yeah, Caroline's actually answered part of the query I was going to raise, so I was also going to look at the amount of provision, because I was read through the report a couple of times and there's a lot of information there about the patronage, but I was interested actually how the patronage compared to provisions. That actually was actually really helpful to be able to see that, and I think that's obviously that I need to look at. What I mean, the main part I wanted to raise in now is actually how the and it's probably something for the operators to actually comment on, but maybe ourselves to some degree, is actually about how we'll start planning next year. I know generally sort of published timetables over the next few months, actually how they're going to move forward. and obviously in the current circumstance that might be a little challenging, but obviously we do know that vaccines are likely to start rolling out quite soon, and imagine that by the time we get into sort of a spring or so, that may be well into the process, so we could start seeing a sort of a return. So obviously it's actually how they're going to set up those timetables. Obviously it's 85% at the moment, and assume obviously that's actually better than I expected, to be honest with you. So that's actually quite pleasing, but obviously it's going to be quite challenging if we do start getting lots of people coming back onto the service, because obviously there will still be some people will be worried about social distance and so forth, and we're not sure what those guidelines will actually be. So it's actually how much that sort of planning we need to sort of do now, really. We're grateful if we any sort of answers now, but obviously we could feed this into future reports. I think you did mention that to some degree, but it really helps to sort of see all this, because it's going to be quite challenging getting all that in. So thank you for that.
If perhaps I could come back on that, and then we could open the floor to operators. So yes, patronage at the moment is relatively low, and provision is relatively high considering. So it's up at about 85% at the moment. So at the moment, we're not seeing any issues there in terms of social distancing, etc. But obviously it's a balance, and obviously there's a lag in terms of what we plan to do and what happens with patronage, and everything is changing all the time at the moment, depending on what's going on in the external environment. An awful lot of work is going into planning all the time, planning for this December, planning into the new year, contingency planning. I'm sure the operators will be able to give you a bit of an insight into that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. We need to be ready if people start coming back to trains, because the last thing we want to do is not be ready for that. So yeah, completely agree with you.
Thank you. Do Mark wants to say something?
I can comment if you like, Chair, on behalf of Northern, if you're happy for me to do that.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Yeah. Good morning, councillors. I think to pick up on the first point, that numbers are very low across our network at the moment. We did get up to sort of into the early 40%, sort of 41, 42% compared to the number of customers travelling with us, in a similar week last year towards the end of the summer period, so sort of the end of August, early September. But with the current environment, numbers have dropped quite considerably to less than 25%. The latest figures that I've got from this week is that numbers are about 21% compared to customers that we conveyed in a similar week last year. With regards to future timetable uplifts, we've developed the timetable based on our resource assumptions. And this does take into account the amount of staff we have self-isolating at the moment in extremely vulnerable categories, and it also takes into account sickness on seasonal sickness and that kind of thing as well. That we will plan for future service uplifts, but we have to do so when we're confident that we're able to provide a reliable service, because that's the most important thing for our customers. So we will communicate more on that as we come into next year. But for the time being, we are focused on the immediate sort of service, day-to-day delivery, and also the programme of uplifts that we have coming for a few weeks' time, starting on the 14th of December. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, or any other operators wants to say anything in addition to that?
Hi, it's Lucia from Trams. Just echoing what Owen's saying. Obviously, the timetables that we've implemented are based on the demand that's there currently, and the resource availability, because of the delay that we've had to some driver training, being able to do that due to the social distancing guidance that's in place. But for us, it's about reassuring customers. So when they do come back to us, it's the fact that we've invested additionally in cleaning colleagues. So we've invested £1.7 million in additional cleaners that are on board and at our stations. And really, it's just getting that reassurance message out to the customers that trains are clean, they're safe. Wear face coverings, buy your tickets online if you can, and it's all about getting that message out there that customers feel confident that when they do use public transport, it's safe for them to do so.
Thank you. I see that we do not have any more questions. Members are actually asked to know the contents of the report.
We've got a presentation on the timetable now, Chair.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Who is doing? Is it Mark doing as well?
Mark, yeah.
Okay, good morning everybody. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to start with a little presentation. Good morning councillors, good morning everybody. Owen and Lucia have already said about the need to be able to deliver a reliable and robust train service. So there will be a timetable uplift in the December timetable change, and overall we'll see train service provision rise from about the current 85% to approximately 90%. Of services. So if we start off with northern services, they're listed in front of you there. There's been a slight amend to this from the presentation you may have seen. I've taken out some of the non-Greater Manchester services which didn't affect us. So just going through that, I'm not going to go through every one. It's perfectly clear there's going to be uplifts there. The main ones will be the Cumbria services from Barrow and Windermere, which form the fast service to Manchester Airport from Wigan North Western. They'll go to 15 daily services from the 14th of December. Also increases in Liverpool to the airport via Warrington, additional peaks at Stoke and Hadfield. Leeds Victoria Chester will become hourly from every 2 hours. Also the Mid Cheshire line, which is a hard one for Northern to resource and operate. That will become hourly from the 14th of December. Caroline mentioned Rose Hill. That resumes as an hourly service and has some additional peaks. I'm pleased to see that the Wigan Blackburn service via the Everton line will return, and that will see the calls reinstated at Swinton. So Swinton goes back to 2 trains per hour. Just to note, Preston to Victoria, that remains every 2 hours off peak, which affects Blackrod Station. And also the Southport Stalybridge service on a Sunday. Southport's are routed by the Everton line to Blackburn, and what was covered on the Wigan Stalybridge on a Sunday is going to remain uncovered. So there's no Sunday service at West Horton or Ashton. There is bus replacement on there. That's it for Northern. TP, not much of a change really for TP. The biggest one is the service that comes in from Cleethorpes and Sheffield, which usually runs to the airport. They will mainly be running to Piccadilly, but they return hourly from 2 hours, with some a couple in the morning and evening running through to the airport to retain crew knowledge on that route. The Scottish services don't really change much, and then the North services detailed there. The Liverpool Scarborough will operate as a shuttle to York, and the Liverpool services will be picked up from Newcastle services, which will run via Manchester Victoria to Liverpool, not the airport. There'll only be 1 train an hour on the Odsal Cord, which is picked up by the red car to the airport service. So TfGM have still arranged ticket acceptance for all rail ticket holders to get across the city centre. For other operators, Avanti West Coast have already reduced their services from Manchester to London, down from 3 trains an hour to 2 trains an hour, to 2 trains an hour from Wigan North Western. East Midlands, a few of their Liverpool Norwich services will be terminating short at Nottingham, and there's a couple missing as well. They're still operating over 90% of their network. Nothing through from Transport for Wales, nor any substantial change for cross country. Still operating 8 and 9 car voyages, fully strengthened. And that is it. If there's any questions, happy to take those.
You just don't use it.
sorry. Thank you for the report. Mark, any questions from members? Yeah, can we have Stuart ask questions, please?
Hello, thanks very much, Mark, for this presentation. And I don't know whether now's the correct time to raise it, but I have mentioned many times the rest. I mean, I realise completely in this pandemic situation that installing new service provision is not the right time. But I have mentioned many times the restoration of some sort of form of Sunday service from Mosesgate, Farnworth and Kersley, which is probably the only 3 stations in the Greater Manchester area which don't have regular Sunday services. And I just wonder whether this is still being looked at for future timetable changes. Thank you.
Good morning, Councillor Haslam. Yeah, I'm aware of that aspiration. I mean, there are other services in Greater Manchester that don't have a Sunday service. Kirby Line doesn't have a Sunday service. Rose Hill doesn't have a Sunday service. We were pre-COVID looking at possibly putting in a call at Farnworth out of the three stations, Mosesgate, Kersley, Farnworth. If there was any sort of business case to be made for it, Farnworth looked the best option. That has obviously all been sort of shelved for now. There will have to be a review of services at some time as we come out of COVID. We'll have to see if commuter traffic returns. We'll have to see what railway revenues look like. We'll have to see what the government's position on it is. Do they continue to run it, or do they look at it in terms of general subsidy from taxpayers? So there's a lot of questions to be answered. But going forward, you know, we'll have to see that as and when.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to ask any questions? If not, then we can know the contents of the report and move to item 6, which is Metrolink performance report. And Victoria, it's up to you again to give us a report. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so my name is Victoria Mercer, Service Delivery Manager, Transport for Greater Manchester for the Metrolink. I'll provide a brief overview of the performance report, which covers the rolling 12-month period up to the 17th of October. And then I'll take any questions on the performance report, and then I'll hand over to Guillaume, who will be presenting Kearley Samey Metrolink's journey throughout the pandemic and the recovery planning. So starting off in terms of a performance overview, so similar to rail colleagues, since the last committee in September, patronage kind of peaked that same week as the meeting was held, and since then has seen a steady decline following evening curfew, the tier system, moving into tier 3 and then going into national lockdown for November. So as a result, patronage has gone from around 40% of pre-COVID levels down to 23% of pre-COVID levels since lockdown. The latest funding package was confirmed by the DfT at the end of October, which is available until the 31st of March. And that's split into 2 tranches and subject to ministerial review in January. So this will also include a recovery plan, which is currently in development. Vehicle availability was again impacted in this period, following problems with mounting brackets becoming loose or detached. This led to a fleet-wide check being carried out and additional in-service monitoring, which resulted in around about 8 trams being taken out of service to have the suspension units repaired or adjusted. So that did impact on fleet availability. On Bombardier have been brought into support cam with the ongoing investigation. So in terms of network performance in relation to punctuality, although we've seen a reduction in capacity with the double allocation due to the fleet availability, we've seen really strong performance in punctuality, with the average waiting time remaining under that 26 seconds. So really good punctuality. Infrastructure reliability has also remained above target with a really strong performance in the last period. And then in Trafford Park Line extension was actually accredited for Sequel Excellence, which is an evidence-based sustainability assessment rating and award scheme for civil engineering. MPT also won 3 prestigious awards at the British Construction Industry Awards, which was Transport Project of the Year, Health, Safety and Wellbeing Initiative of the Year, and Overall Project of the Year. So really positive. In terms of the customer experience, we have seen an increase in antisocial behaviour, violent and criminal activity on the network, predominantly in the city centre, with the main hotspot being around Victoria. We've also seen a number of criminal damage incidents on the network, which link to damage to ticket assets, onboard trams and at some cycle hubs as well. So we've been working closely through the Travel Safe Partnership to conduct days of action, and those have been ongoing throughout the period. We've also seen a reduction we had car cruise events at Park and Rides, which is extremely disruptive. And after serving a community protection notice on the organisers of these events, we've actually seen a reduction in those. We haven't had any incidents since, so we continue to monitor that, but that's a really good outcome for us. We've conducted 15 days of action as well through the partnership since September, when we saw the schools return. And that's where we started to see a decrease in face covering and social distance compliance on the network. So we've worked really closely with the schools around our network, and even some of the teachers have been partaking in the planned operations, which have been hugely successful. Tram surfing also saw an increase in the period, particularly in the city centre. And following an incident where a juvenile sustained minor injuries following this activity, we're currently exploring the restorative justice approach. And with the consent from the child and parents, we will look to generate a media campaign to highlight the risks of that activity. And finally, just a quick look forward. So good news is the first new tram arrived at Queen's Road Depot on Saturday and has started the commissioning process, which is really good news. Service planning continues for 2021, so similar to rail we're reviewing the demand, remodelling the anticipated recovery and growth to develop the best approach for the medium and longer term. In the meantime, the current service delivers a really good spread of capacity across the network with the distribution of doubles. All our trams are out on the network, and we're able to respond quickly to changes in demand by redistribution of those double services. Services over Christmas have also been finalised, but remains under review as we emerge from lockdown. So we'll just continue to review that and finalise those plans in the next week too. There are no further engineering works planned for this year now, but there will be some significant renewal and maintenance works which are currently in planning stage for next year. So these will be detailed at future committees once the full scope and customer impact is known. And we've also implemented several national recommendations from the RAAB investigation into Sandylands, with further work continuing, and we're making really good progress. CAM have developed a customer policy, which will be published shortly, providing oversight on how our services operate, standards we deliver for our customers, and also to help support the recovery and providing the confidence when travelling with us. And I'm sure Guillaume will touch on that as well as part of his presentation. And finally, we will be bringing on board additional resource to support customers returning to the network as we come out of lockdown. So we'll be introducing a team of Tram ambassadors to support customers using the network, providing information on travelling safely and responsibly, and handing out face coverings and sanitisers as required. So we'll also be increasing our daily stock cleans and onboard cleaning of touch points across the network by providing up to 500 additional hours per week. And finally, we'll be also installing some hand sanitizer units at high footfall stops on the network. This has been quite challenging for Metrolink because of our open network, outdoor exposed stops and unstaffed stations. But we finally got this kind of working really quite hard and getting this over the line to be able to introduce those onto the network. So that's a real win there as well. And all of that work will be underpinned by a refreshed campaign, showcase the enhanced measures on the network and support our customers as they return to us. So that's a real flyover of the performance and future look, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Victoria. And I would like to know the congratulations on the great achievements. And first question we have from Howard.
Thanks, Chair. My question is about what's not in the report, and I don't know whether it'll be this bit or the second bit of the report, but it's about the provision of broadband and Wi-Fi on the tram network, of which there's no reference in the minutes we approved earlier, and there's no reference on this report, which I thought there would be, and I have a couple of questions and comments to make. So I don't know whether you want to do it on this bit or on the second bit, and then people can have a bit of a think. I'm in your hands.
I'm happy to pick that one up now if you want me to pick up the Wi-Fi.
Okay. Well, as colleagues, I'm sure will be a no for whatever the reasons were, and I've had two very different reasons. We suspended the current Wi-Fi service on the tram network. That's fine. I'm just a bit concerned we've had no update about that. I also now understand the situation has moved on somewhat, that not only have we not we've suspended it, we've effectively terminated it, and the officer made some comments about commissioning new trams, so they're going to join the network. And I would have thought no other light rail network has suspended its Wi-Fi that I'm aware of. Buses continue to offer it because it's part of the attractive offer about getting passengers back on the service. So I suppose there's two different things here. I can agree or disagree with the decision, but the fact that it never comes anywhere near us on this subcommittee or the main committee, I think is a shame. And then the second thing is, if people haven't got the answers here, I'd like to have a report and the rationale behind what we did, and if we've now made the decision to effectively terminate it and how that impacts. And the reason I ask that is, if I go back 2 or 3 years, when I was trying to make the case for real-time information points, one of the reasons we said is because we provide Wi-Fi and we therefore don't need them as much. So I think it sort of flows through, but I do find it a bit peculiar, to say the least. I'm being polite here, Chair, that we've terminated, and it's not an unsubstantial amount as I understand it, and we have no plans to re-engage, but nobody saw fit to tell us. So I'll pause there, but I might want to come back if that's okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so just to answer that then, is ultimately pre-COVID, ultimately the numbers of usage were coming down on the Wi-Fi network, and it was under review. We were coming up to a renewal as well, so it was all being considered and reviewed. As we went into lockdown, less customers were obviously travelling, there was hardly any usage, but also what we did see was it created a lot of congregation on the network to tap into that facility and causing ASB on the network. So there was an initial decision, early lockdown, to remove that functionality to deter that behaviour. So it was switched off at that point. We then continue to review this, and we can obviously come back to this committee with kind of an overview and a paper as to the full rationale behind this. But ultimately, with reviewing the renewal that was required, reviewing the usage, and in light of the significant loss of revenue and financial constraints as well, we estimated that we would save around 300,000 a year in costs of providing that service, but also in upgrading the infrastructure that would cost in excess of £1 million as well. So the decision was taken not to switch it back on at this moment in time. So we can certainly follow up and provide you a more detailed note on that and the work that was done behind that as well.
Thank you, Carol. And we have a question.
Could I just come back on that, Chair? Just very briefly. I won't be any more time. It's very interesting. Could I just ask who the we is? Because the we isn't me. Who is the we that made that decision, and where was it made, and where do I find it?
I'll take that one away and provide you with
what
details.
What a surprise! Thought you might. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Can we go to Councillor Richard Gold for a question?
Yeah, thanks. Hi, thanks for that. I was just wondering, do you have any sort of more detailed figures on compliance of people wearing face masks? How many people have been fined or spoken to, etc.?
In terms of face covering compliance, so we actually know our levels are between 80 and 90% on Metrolink. It differs between the AM and the PM peaks as well. AM peak is really quite high, it's slightly lower in the PM peak. In terms of enforcement, our officers engage, educate, encourage, and then work closely through the partnership with Greater Manchester Police, who then actually look at that enforcement side. So I haven't actually got the figures on number of penalties issued, but we do work closely, and a significant number of operations have been conducted jointly as well to target the hotspots on the network.
Thanks. Is it possible to get any figures just to reassure the public? Because I have had rumblings about it on the Metrolink, and I want to give them facts about what's being done.
Absolutely, so, I'll take
please.
That back with my colleagues
Thanks.
in the Travel Safe Partnership, and we'll provide you more details on that one.
That's great. Preferably before next Wednesday when I've got full counsel in case it comes up. Sorry. Thank you for that. Thanks.
Thank you. Any more questions to Victoria?
Sorry, Chair, if I could, it's Councillor Stephen, I said, sorry, I've actually seems to have lost my chat facility on the bar. I don't know if anybody else has got that problem. And obviously, I do understand that it's between the hand and the chat, but I have lost the chat. I have no chat facility, so I apologise for having to just unmute and indicate, but I don't seem to have any other mechanism at that point.
It's okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll put my video on, sorry. Yeah, it's just a quick question. I was interested in the comments there because I was looking in the original report talking about tram surfing, as they call it. I mean, I'm not even sure it's an appropriate name. I mean, in that sense, I think we should put probably a more negative sounding name on it there, because I'm not sure that sounds completely negative. The word tram surfing, it sounds almost, well, pleasant, I think, but and I think we probably want to come with a term that actually really makes it sound wrong. I mean, obviously, I can see. I think the idea there of that restorative justice is probably quite interesting and something we could support. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you'll actually already say when I'm actually asking a question about measures we're actually doing to try and deter this. Physical measures. I mean, obviously, we're just taking delivery of a lot of new trams now. I think 27. I think that we saw something recently. I mean, obviously, this problem with trams has been going on for quite some time now. So I assume that obviously, I hope that when the new trams come to service, actually have some measures that might be able to deter this, and well, physical measures I'm talking about. And obviously, we can see that the drivers can watch out for this and maybe alert people to it. Obviously, physical measures built into how they're designed, or maybe some adaptations to actually help. So this might be helpful. So I assume we've already given this some thought, so it'd be helpful if we could have an idea, because obviously I'm actually concerned about, and it will be young people, is their safety, and obviously young people don't have realisation of danger in that sense, and it might seem a bit of fun, and it will be a bit of fun. So somebody, I mean, we've had one slight injury, but you know, it's not beyond the imagination that someone's going to get seriously injured or worse. I think we're obviously getting message out there as one, but any physical measures we can do, I think, would be really welcome. Thank you.
I think yes. You go on, Victoria.
Danny, do you want me to pick that one up, or did you want to come in there?
Well, I'll just come in because we've been doing some work on it just recently. Sorry, Vicky. Hi, Steve. Yeah, it's a very big concern of ours. A couple of years ago, when we did have a spike of this, we launched a sort of a publicity campaign, which was quite impactful actually. So we're hoping to do the same thing again. I know CAM have been looking at sort of technological solutions. It's very difficult to do. You can't put any physical barriers up between the trams because obviously they have to turn around corners and so on. Actually, and putting stuff on the platforms makes it actually less safe. But we are investigating. There is a proposal to use some sort of infrared technology, which would give a better signal to the driver. I mean, thankfully, we haven't actually, hurt anybody. I think it's just we all recognise the potential for an accident. So at the moment, it's focusing on publicising it, trying to crack down on it. But we are looking at some technological solutions to see if they're possible to install on the trams.
Thank you. I think Councillor Sykes wants to come back or make a comment.
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's just two things, just to make sure we got in the notes that we'll get a report on the issue raised about the Wi-Fi at our next meeting. But the other thing is I'm very interested in the data about the compliance with masks and stuff. If we could break it down by line, it would be helpful. It is not my experience or the experience of my constituents that 80 to 90% of people on the old Rochdale line are complying, and particularly at certain times, it's a lot worse than that, which I just think is an issue we need to help get over if we're going to encourage some people back onto the network. Because I suspect we're going to have lost some people for a long time if we're not careful, and I'm keen to do everything I can to do that, Chair. But I do think we need to some data and maybe some more targeted work. I know we've had Metrolink enforcement and other people particularly doing some work on that line over the last 2 or 3 weeks, because I've had some people whinging, which is really good. So well done for doing that. And you've clearly nailed a few people, and that's good as well. But if we could have the data on a line basis, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we do that, Victoria and Danny?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got that information by line and time, so we can provide that.
Right. Any more questions on this part of item? If not, do you want Glenn to do a presentation, a supplementary presentation?
Absolutely. So if we can introduce, well, I'll let Guillaume introduce himself in terms of his role and what he's bringing. But absolutely, Guillaume's got a really good presentation to talk you through the journey that Keolis Amy have been on throughout the pandemic. So I'll hand over to Guillaume. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. Good morning, everyone, Chair, councillors. So the target is to provide you with some high-level updates on what we have done in Metrolink, and I am Guillaume Chenusso. I am the Managing Director of Keolis Amy Metrolink. So now I will share a presentation with you, and we'll be happy to take comments on this presentation. Do you see the presentation?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So I will start by an overall snapshot of our performance by what we call pillars in our organization. So our first pillar is safety. So in the last months, we have reviewed and implemented significant changes in our safety structure, with having a new director, a new resource, and reinforce the skills. And we have also reinforced some procedures and standards, including our safety management system, and introducing an app for safety hazard reporting and actions. And we have reinforced our internal communications. We have also made some significant work with the Travel Safe partnership and with TFGM to improve security, and working also with the Greater Manchester Police to work on antisocial behaviors and data-led intelligence to support the Greater Manchester community. In terms of customer experience pillar, so we have made significant adaptations to COVID-19 environment. I will go on this one in more detail after these slides, because the target is to give you more details on COVID. We have also supported Transport for Greater Manchester to deliver, a service that is adapted to the situation. So, as you know, we have decreased the frequency to increase the capacity per tram, running more doubles and such kind of improvements. And we have also worked on customer engagement, and I will come also again on that later, where we have new policy and new ways of supporting passengers on the network. In terms of partnership with TFGM, we have been awarded as a certificate for ISO 44001, which is a collaborative working. So this is really a great achievement. It's not only an ISO certification, it's a full work that we have done over the last 3 years to make sure we have a joint visions for the benefits of all the stakeholders and in first place the passengers. So, you know, I'm really proud of that, and it's a great achievement for all of us. Managing COVID impact, obviously we'll come back on that. And we are preparing what we call the MSIP program. That means that we have 27 new trams coming in with, as say Victoria, we already have the first one in our depot, ready for testing and commissioning. And it was a great achievement to be able to move this tram from Vienna to Manchester safely, and everything went well for this first tram to be placed in our depot. So this is a good start for this significant project that ultimately will give, you know, more capacity for our passengers. In terms of operations, so it's, yeah, we have opened the Trafford Park line. Why it's still here is because there are still, you know, some testing and commissioning activities going on. So yet it's open for months now, but we are still make sure that the line is working well, and we have a specific attention to these new lines. We have also enhanced the management of our hours, and this is related to our staff hours to make sure we can deal with COVID absenteeism and some challenges for colleagues that needs more support in this time. We have also worked hard on tram availability and resilience of the infrastructures. Victoria already touched on that, so I will go quickly through it. Employee engagement, we have made lots of improvements, including a new driver simulator, a new app for the colleagues, and we have reinforced the discussion with the unions, especially on the safety part, where now they are fully engaged with our COVID initiatives and actions. And the last one, in terms of corporate social responsibility, the main one I want to share with you is that we are engaged now in investor and diversity accreditation journey. We are working on a so-called FREDI journey. FREDI is fairness, respect, equality, diversity, inclusion, and engagement. And this is, you know, a key objective for us as an organization, as an employer. So going through response to COVID, I will go quickly through the slide and after open the floor to questions. So first of all, I will present you what we're doing as an employer. So for workplace, so we have a risk-based approach. So we have made risk assessment for all our activities on the network where COVID has some form of impact. We have provided some new PPE protective equipment to our employees, made some new communications, digital communication, but also physical communication, as you can see on one of the pictures. And we have put in place a set of preventive measures and new ways of working, including work from home, restricted access to some key strategic part of our organization, including the control room. We have changed the roster and the shifts to create bubbles and to protect our frontlines key workers. We have changed the way we work through the facilities, and we do trainings with one-way system and sanitizer, face mask, and space between office place. I already mentioned the PPE and the communication part of it. Now, what you are interested in is the tram services. So what are we doing for passengers? So we have a joint working group with Transport for Greater Manchester that are really working hard with us to review, you know, the new use of the network, how we can adapt the timetable, how we can provide more space in our tram and more capacity. And we agree key interventions on messaging to the public. You can see part of these communications also on the image on the slides. We have also implemented customer compliance and engagement activities. So we have the support of the Travel Safe Partnership for that, and we are making some educational operations, and we are trying to spread, the messaging all across the network and into schools and key areas that could help us contain the risk. We have also increased engagement with our shareholders and other operators to share the best practices. So we have meeting with operators all around the world. We have also invited Transport for Greater Manchester to have feedback from other KLE operation in the world, in Asia, in north of Europe, where they make things differently, and we can learn from each other. And out of this, what we have made, we have jointly developed enhanced initiatives that we are calling Living with COVID. Part of these initiatives have been already shared by Victoria. So the main target is to to bring confidence to the public and to limit the spread of coronavirus into our network. So we are providing additional cleaning. So we already have a really high level of cleaning on our network, but we went even further with having specific products that are hospital grade antiviral type of product, and we are putting even more activities on our vehicles and on our stations to make sure there is as minimum risk as we could. We have also rolled out the hand sanitizer dispenser to some busiest Metrolink stops, and Victoria already mentioned that we're working on it to make sure it's safe for colleagues in this open network. Introduction on Tram ambassadors, it has been mentioned already, so but it's colleagues that will be here to support our passengers. And also we're exploring some new intelligent solution to use the data and trying to transform this data into positive actions. So then, extremely important in this context is mental health. We are seeing mental health challenges within our staff and within the customer. So what are we doing on that? We are doing internal communications. We have our safety moment at the start of every meeting. We have developed some staff engagement initiatives. So we have a reward gateway when they can have discounts with shops. We have a cycling scheme, which was something they were expected for a long time. We have specific senior management engagement tool where we speak with our people, and safety tours. We're also upskilling our frontline teams, and we have made a very good mental health training for our frontline in partnership with the NHS. So this is a 2-day training that is very strong, and we have also opened some external line call to support our workers. And with the community, we are working with Manchester Police, with TFGM, the councils, the Samaritans, to make sure we can assist our passenger. And again, coming back on this mental health awareness training made with the NHS Foundation Trust, that is extremely useful, of course, not only for our own staff, but more importantly for our passenger. So we know how to identify the risk and how to respond to it efficiently. So with all of that, we have made a lot of progress, but still we want to go further. So what's coming next? We're working on a joint business plan with Transport for Greater Manchester. So some of the key targets are to rebuild customer confidence and to maximize passenger growth. We need passenger, we want passenger on the network. This is our main target. Then, of course, ensuring that safety and reliability of the service is here and meets the customer needs and demands. And finally, reviewing part of the contractual obligations and ways of working to optimize the use of resource within current constraints. We're also exploring together what could look like the service pattern in the future to make sure we address the management and resource and the revenue growth that we're expecting for the sustainability of this activity in the future. We have developed and delivered a customer service policy with the full details of which kind of service we provide to our passengers, how they can contact us, what do we do for each type of passengers, and how we address diversity and some constraints that a specific group of our community are facing. And last but not least, we are leveraging with the shareholders, Keolis and EMI, to put forward some initiative solutions to strengthen roadmap recovery. So again, trying to leverage on international knowledge to give the best of the public transport knowledge to Manchester. So I will stop the slideshow now and welcome any question to myself or TFGM colleagues.
Thank you, Giuliani, for a lovely presentation. It is good to know that you do care about your employees and the work you do. And obviously, we do need to make sure that more people use public transport and they feel safe to do so. Any questions from members? No? No questions?
Chair?
Yep. Yes.
So I've obviously still lost my chat facility. That's still not come back.
Okay, go ahead.
So apologies for that. I don't know if anybody else has got that problem. Yeah, it's just obviously that was very interesting, thank you. And obviously a lot of work is going on that. I think one of the areas that I was thinking of, that was obviously, but once we do get into the spring, and obviously I think I mentioned earlier, and obviously people having vaccines will start coming back in hopefully quite large numbers on the trams, and I use the trams quite a lot where I live, more so than buses to get into places like town and so forth. It was very handy, fast, efficient at all times. The day and evening, so that's actually very convenient. And obviously I used them a lot when I was coming in for meetings like these transport meetings and others as well, quite a lot. But one of the things that's always a problem, I'm on the Stretford on the Altrincham line, and it's the sheer numbers that we're using them. Now, no pre-pandemic, we all adopted the term of sardined, and obviously we don't want to go back to that situation there. Needless to say, even obviously after we've all been vaccinated and we got immunity against COVID, I think obviously it is other problems that it was so close and humid when you're that packed on that much. So obviously it's actually how we're going to be addressing that, because obviously there will be that intermediate period once people start coming on, and before people, I'm sure people will start feeling safe once they've had the vaccine, but we'll start getting those large numbers on. That might be putting people off. So it's actually how we're going to address those measures, building into the recovery plan, if you could please. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you for these questions, and you are really spot on one of the targets of our networks, and it's something that we're really working on with TFGM. We are really lucky as an operator, and I think as a city, to have such a government and public bodies that are investing heavily on this network. And as we say, we are receiving 27 new trams, and this will provide us the ability to have more capacity, more doubles on the tram, and we are working on some options with TFGM to see how to deal with this demand, which is a good news, and I welcome this demand, but also to manage some technicality behind this challenge around the fact that we have a core corridor with a lot of tram going through this. So we want also to maintain the reliability of our services. But yes, this part of the network is one of the busiest of the network, and we're working on putting the adequate frequency and capacity, mainly thanks to the new trams coming in.
Thank you.
Just to follow up to that, thank you, if I could please, Chair. Obviously, part of what you're doing as well is obviously part of making people feel safe will be and using the materials that are available for hand cleaning and so forth on that one there. I do notice that some organisations they're able to put coatings on things like rails and things like this that are actually antiviral coatings. I don't know whether things like that possible on the handrails that we use on trams and maybe even on the buttons, because obviously when the tram stops you have to press the button, and when I go you're using like your elbow to try and press it to stop. Avoid using your hands. So it's actually whether something like that we could use those sort of antiviral coatings. It may be like you've already thought of that, I suspect. Thank you.
Yes, so yes, obviously, you know, safety and health of the passenger and of our employees is our primary priority. Is our priority. So we are putting, as I put in my presentation, some hospital grade antiviral cleans every few hours on our trams. We have explored, you know, coating options also for cleaning purpose. But with the COVID, you know, the challenge is not to have, you know, solutions for medium and long term, but really short term solutions. So the cleaning and cleaning the touch points and having, you know, at the end of each line, some colleagues cleaning all the main points of the tram is the best solutions that we can have. Even if we have a very efficient coating, you know, cleaning is the best options. So we're exploring all the options, but I'm confident that what we're providing today is safe and state of the art for the industry.
Thank you. As no more members have indicated to ask any questions, and we are asked to note the performance of Metrolink services, I would like to say thank you to Victoria, Danny and William for presentations and responding to our questions. And before we move to the next question, our chair Dori has been able to successfully join us and would like to make some comments. So it's all up to you, Dori, now.
Thank you, Desiree. All I want to say basically is I know my apologies were given, but I have been trying to get onto this meeting since 9:45 this morning. And I would also like to thank Desiree being absolutely thrown in at the deep end and not a clue what was going on. So yes, I have joined the meeting now. Desiree will carry on. I just wanted to explain why I wasn't there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dori. Thank you. And we can move with that to item 7, GMTC Transport Work Programme, and report will be given by Gwyn Williams, Deputy Monitoring Officer, TFGM.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, within your papers is the work programme for the committee and the subcommittees up until the end of February. So with the addition of the item that Councillor Sykes requested today in relation to Metrolink, are there any further comments from members?
Members, do we have any more comments, questions? It doesn't look like we have. Shall we move to item 8 then, dates of future meetings, which are at 22nd January next year and 19th of March?
Noted, Chair.
Noted, great. And we can say thank you to all the operators for coming and joining and giving us reports and lovely presentations. And we could, if you could end the meeting, please.